Welcome to Cultural Catalyst, the podcast that shines a light on the creative visionaries working behind the scenes in arts and entertainment. I'm your host, Alison McNeil, CEO and founder of McNeil Creative Enterprises. With over 20 years of experience advocating for equity and sustainable growth in the arts and entertainment, I've seen firsthand the power of the behind-the-scenes creatives. Here on Cultural Catalyst, the creatives behind the curtain take center stage. Let's celebrate the people who make the magic happen. Let's dive in. Hey there. Before we dive into this episode, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the shifts in our arts and cultural landscape since these conversations were first recorded. We've seen the challenges to institutions, including the arts, but we also have seen the resilience of creatives and cultural organizations. If you believe in the power of the arts, now is the time to take action. Support the artists and arts organizations that inspire you. Donate, amplify their work, and stay engaged. Visit Americans for the Arts to stay updated on advocacy efforts happening on Capitol Hill and across the country. Americans for the Arts provides resources and opportunities to get involved at the local, state, and national levels. We'll link their website in the show notes and continue sharing updates on our MCE Instagram. As the legendary Carrie Mae Weems reminds us, art is the one place we all turn to for solace, and we need that now more than ever. Let's show up for the arts, for our communities, and for each other. Now, let's get into this episode. Today, I'm excited to welcome my guest, Nyle Washington. Nyle Washington is a Senior Award Series Publicity and Talent Relations Manager at Netflix with over 20 years of experience in public relations, awards campaigns, and media strategy. She has led publicity efforts for hit Netflix series like Stranger Things, The Crown, and Squid Game, contributing to over 30 primetime Emmy wins. Nyle is known for her expertise in executing innovative and unconventional publicity strategies for major industry awards. And she also fosters strong media relationships and leads teams with creativity and impact. I can't wait to get started, to have our conversations and learn a little bit about you. So why don't we get started here? How'd you get started in public relations?
I fell into public relations on accident. Undergrad at Hampton University, I was an English major, thinking that I was going to do broadcast or journalism. And so all my internships undergrad were at Good Morning America, KYW, which was a local station in Philadelphia, and they were all in broadcast. And I was like, I got this. This is what I'm going to do. So after graduating from Hampton, I went to Temple University for my master's degree in journalism, broadcast communication. And I happened to land an internship at the Oprah Winfrey Show. Options for internships at that time were in the public relations department or in the audience department, because the semester before they had an internship in production and somebody had messed that up. So they only gave me the option of two. And I was like, well, I don't want to move to Chicago for a semester to see people. So now I lean into public relations. I don't really know what this is. I don't really have an idea of what it will entail, but I was like, I'm going to just dive in and just figure it out. That's exactly what I did. This is during the time that Oprah Winfrey gave away the cars in her car giveaway.
You were working that season?
I was working that season. Like, what is the universe for that to be the season that I end up working and learning about public relations? And it was such the perfect, I'll just say, melding pot of the show, all this international press coming in, because this is the first time anyone had ever done a car giveaway on a show to this extent, on a talk show of anything. So I remember all this international press from Germany, the UK, Korea, all this press coming in to cover what was happening. And I was in charge of kind of shuttling them and getting press packets ready and the literature correct to make sure we were, delivering the correct information for press that were going to be covering different things. I just remember it being bananas. And I was like, okay, sign me up for this. Whatever.
You're like, and this is what I wanted.
This is it. This is it. I was like, I don't know what this entails. I guess it entails press coming from all over the world and you doing a whole conference. And then they sat in and watched the taping. And obviously then they covered Oprah. I think everybody remembers that iconic shot of Oprah sitting on top of the car with the keys, audience members in back. Like that was it. I was like, okay, I get what this is. This is what I want to do. I don't know how I could do this after I graduate, but this is it potentially.
That is exciting. And what a great place to start. Like, and on that episode or that season, that's iconic. When you were there, what specifically made you say, okay, this is it. I'm moving forward with it. Was it that episode or was it something else?
I think it was watching the woman who, and I'm blanking on her name right now, unfortunately. There was a woman who was leading up her PR team. And so she had like different hands, I guess, that did different things, where there was a group that handled her like book club. There was a group that handled the live show. There was a group that handled some of like the specific talent that she would have on, like if they were going to be music artists or something like that. So I love the fact that there was just so many arms to this octopus, I'll say, when I was there, and just seeing her being at the control center.
Yeah.
To determine like, okay, this is what we're going to do for the book club. This is how we're going to roll this out. This is what we're going to do for this music artist that's coming in. They've got a new album. They've got a new video. They've got a new whatever. Like, we're going to help roll this out in this type of way to promote the show, but also promote this artist. Like, I just love that there were so many levers that were being pushed for me in this show. And Alison, what you're doing almost is you see what the show is, but you don't realize all the different people behind the show, the puppet masters, I'm going to call them.
That's right.
Who are making things happen. If I had never been in the control center of the Oprah Winfrey Show at that time, I would have never known that it was so many different people making things happen, like legal, pressing the button to make sure all the car situation was fine. International doing this, PR doing one thing, marketing doing something else, the production team doing something. It was just so fascinating to me to see the inner workings, and to see the inner workings of Publicity was even more fascinating to me, because I always thought Publicity in my head was like a press release, get it out, somebody covers something and you just keep it pushing, not realizing it's way more than that. It's about fostering relationships. It's about fostering the relationships to make sure you're giving somebody an exclusive perhaps, or giving somebody something that they might need next time. It's so much more than the smaller picture, I guess, of what I thought public relations was. So I was hooked from there.
Yeah, I can totally understand, especially when you can see it working in real time.
100%.
And see the impact that it's making for those that it's connecting with. I have a funny story. One time I was watching The Breakfast Club, Omari Hardwick was being interviewed for Power, and he said something like, shout out to Nyle for getting us up here or something. And I said, you didn't tell me what it was like to do publicity for that, for
Power,
for Ghost and Power. For those on the podcast that don't know what I'm so excited about.
Later on, I went to Stars. Stars was one of my second or third jobs in TV, because I ended up starting out in VH1 doing music first and then reality TV. And then I got to a point where I was like, I don't want to do reality TV anymore. And Stars was my first foray into scripted. And I got the opportunity to work on the second season of Power, second and third season, I want to say, of Power. And then a show called Survivor's Remorse, which was LeBron James' early show with Tiana Paris and Jessica Usher and Mike Epps, like really, really phenomenal. And so I had been a fan of Power, thank God, from the first season. And so I was like, heck yeah, when I got the job and got the opportunity. And so I remember when I first got the job, sitting down with the cast and just kind of being like, let me do this in a different way. I remember sitting down with the cast when I first met them, and I said, what are the things or the outlets or the opportunities you've not been able to get so far? And like, what do you want that to look like? And I remember one of the opportunities was like, we went to Breakfast Club. And this again, like, it was like Power was still kind of growing.
Yeah.
And so I remember just sitting down with them and them being like, Breakfast Club. I remember them being like, we want to go to Essence Music Festival. I remember Omari being like, I want to be on the cover of Essence. Like, I just wanted people to like, tell me your pie in the sky or what your dream kind of press hits would be. And so I made it my mission and my goal as we went like season to season, just to be like, I'm going to pitch this and see where we land. I just want to see what we could do. Like, I don't want us to be pigeonholed into like, we could only do this or we could only be covered over here. I just want us to kind of like think big picture. I remember being like, how about we think about an Entertainment Weekly cover at the time? Just like, what are we going to do that you haven't done before? And so Breakfast Club was one of those things we did, taking the cast to to the Essence Music Festival was another thing we ended up doing. Getting Omari on the cover for the Essence Music Festival issue, which was the men's issue, was another like pie in the sky that we made happen because he wanted it to happen. So that was my goal. It was just kind of like, we know what the show is, we know what the audience is, we know the appeal of the show and the audience and the talent. It's just kind of like, what are we going to do with this now?
So you have to both hear the desires of the team that you're supporting and think about what's the best strategy to ensure that their visibility is within that audience. Interesting.
Or if the visibility isn't within the audience, like, let's be clear, a lot of like African-American audience was already locked into power. That wasn't a thing.
Right.
At the same time, it was like, well, we can still grow this audience because it's the second season. Essence Festival makes sense. Like, that's a whole group of Black women that come from across the country. Good looking cast, Joseph Sikora and Tori Knott. Like, it was a good looking, like, it was just, it again ticked all those amazing boxes. And then Lorenz Tate joined the cast later on. It was just kind of like, we already have the substance of a great series as it is. We just have to continue to grow it and make sure it's increasing the audience. I'll say that. So that it's not just us. Like, we knew the Latino audience was watching. The white audience was like starting to creep in there and watch more. So it's just always thinking like, what are those areas that we're not hitting that we should be hitting, or those areas that the audience is in that we can still make sure we're catering to, but what else can we cater to that we're maybe not thinking of?
Gotcha. So it sounds like you're working with so many different people because you got to first see who the audience is. I don't know. Do you find that data through marketing or?
I was going to say you do a little bit. Again, the bonus is Power was already out. So it wasn't like, let's kind of think who's going to be the focus or the audience for this. We knew what it was, which is about how do we grow this audience that we already know. Do we need to go to Chicago to do something? Joseph Sikora is from Chicago. Let's go there and kind of lean in a little bit more. Omari went to school in Atlanta. Do we like lean in a little bit more, like a no-brainer? And a little bit more of it was just kind of like, what are we missing that we're not thinking of at this point? So
first of all, it's funny that you say it's a no-brainer because it's a definite skill because not everybody's like, oh, let me make these connections because of course we would go here. So many flowers to you for your ability to kind of find those connecting dots and then to connect them. And public relations, if you were to think about I'm successful when, is it primarily when you grow an audience or are there other, if you will, success metrics?
Great question. I would say for a network streamer, the success is the audience growth. It is those viewership numbers. For me personally, I think my success is a little bit different. My success is more like I was able to, I'm going to say, crack that nut that I didn't think was going to be able to like be cracked. I'll say that as an example. Or get that journalist to cover the show when they might not even like have thought that they would be interested in watching it. There was a writer, she's now at Deadline, a writer named Lynette Rice. She was at Entertainment Weekly at the time. And we were pushing hard for a cover. And I was like, it might not happen, but the best next thing for me was going to be a feature. And I was like, who could I get at Entertainment Weekly to watch this show if they haven't already? Lovely Lynette, white woman, very much like, would not be your typical idea of the demo for Power, I will say this. And when I tell you, she loved it. She was like, Mari's eye candy. This show is amazing. It's giving me different levels of like anxiety each week because I don't know what's going to happen.
It's true.
She fell in love with the show. And she was a nut that I had to crack because it was like, how do I get this woman to watch the show, to embrace it? The writing is phenomenal. Courtney Kemp is the showrunner. Like, how do I get people to embrace the show, watch it, and want to write about it in a bigger way, not just like a little sidebar piece? I was able to get her to watch, love it, do a whole big feature on it. And like that to me was like a big accomplishment. So again, for a streamer or a network, it might be about audience. For me, it was like, how do I turn a no into a yes? Or a potential like, maybe I'll think about this. Oh, you know what? I watched, I like it. Let's do something.
I'm so glad that you made that distinction between what the network was looking for and what you knew for yourself was successful. Because sometimes that's what keeps us going and staying engaged in the work. We're going to go to your current role. But before we do, I just have to go back to your internship at Oprah to stars. Like the way that we get information has changed dramatically. Like we were at that time, maybe the internet, maybe TV. I feel like I got my email address in college, like for the first time. There were no blogs. So how did you how did your, I don't know, your outlet strategy change with the presence of podcast and all these other pieces that are now part of?
It's insane to think about because when I first started in PR, my first job was at a company called Susan Blonde Inc. and it was in music. So I worked for this really great publicist who's still out there doing amazing work named Simone Smalls. And she worked with Usher, Keisha Cole, Avant, Sean Paul, Little John. I was like, ooh, PR. Let's not get my feet wet. Let's want to start this and figure out how to do this. I was able to like learn underneath her a lot of like, what do you kind of target? What makes sense? And it's kind of wild to think half these local newspapers that we would target and talk to don't exist anymore. Journalists aren't there anymore, or like everything's been relegated to online now. So yes, to your point, it was a whole different ball game where you were really focusing on newspaper pieces. Like New York Times obviously was the pie in the sky that you always wanted, but you're focusing on some of these smaller pieces in like a Miami Herald or an Indianapolis Star or Chicago Tribune, like still bigger papers, but again, still very hard to lock down different pieces if your talent was visiting these different cities on tour or doing promo for an album or anything. So it was more about the promo tour, the local cities, the local newspapers. I don't know what it looks like now, to be 100% honest with you, on the music side, given, again, a lot of those journalists are no longer there working for different outlets, or again, now everything's online. There has been a big trajectory, and I've seen it shift from newspaper to online to blogs. Like, I remember in like the early 2000s when blogs were the thing, like, and I think now it's moved into like the Shade Room and a couple other things. So the blog still exists, but to your point, Allison, those blogs have now added podcast. Podcast is the future. It's the way. Like New York Times is a great example. I want to say last year started a podcast called The Interview. And it is like one of the hottest commodities to get your talent on because they do really great long format interviews with very top talent that are like really interesting, like Jelly Roll. I don't know if you've ever heard of Jelly Roll. He's a country artist. The white man with tattoos, started out in rap, has like a criminal background.
Oh, wow.
It is. They interview some really, really interesting people. And podcasts are it now. Like, if you're not thinking about, okay, I need to get a newspaper piece, I need to get online, I also need to make sure I'm thinking of like, what podcast am I having my talent do? Because they're super, super impactful. People can listen in on the car. I know for me, I'm always listening because I live in LA. I spend half my time in my car. Like, what podcast am I going to listen to today? What interview am I going to listen to today? Is it something about mental health? Is it a celebrity interview? Is it a book? Again, yes, to your point, it's evolved in ways I don't think we even saw it evolving, to be honest with you.
I don't think anybody could have seen it. It's just literally changed to these influencers now. But thank you for that. I was just like, we got to address that evolution. Okay, so Netflix is known for hiring the top tier talent. Can you talk about how you landed a job with one of the most influential media companies in the world?
I pinch myself every day, like how in the heck? Because before Netflix, I was at my dream job, which I thought, which is HBO.
Right.
HBO was like, I know you ever make your list of like what I would want to do in the future, where my top, whatever. It was HBO. HBO was it. I was like The Wire, Game of Thrones, Sex and the City, look no further. HBO.
That's right.
And I was at HBO working in the media relations team and got an email one day that it was just like, hey, Netflix is starting to build their awards team and specifically looking for an awards publicist. And in my head, I was like, what the heck is an awards publicist? Because at that time, it didn't exist. Like, no one really had awards teams. Like, there was maybe one or two people that helped with submissions. That was it. It wasn't to the level that it is now for streamers and networks. And so in my head, I was like, I'll take a chance at this and see what it is. I interviewed for the position. I flew out to LA, met some of the team members, and was like, I think I can actually do this. This feels like, I don't want to say it's breaking new ground, but this feels like something different than what I've been doing before, as far as either doing documentaries or doing music or doing reality or doing scripted. Like, it wasn't a straightforward promoting the launch of a show. It was like, oh yeah, you're now campaigning a show for these specific guilds, for this specific group of voters. It's still the idea of like, you need to know who your audience is. And it's still good because I work with publicists that work on the shows that I work on for Netflix, with The Crown and Stranger Things and Squid Game. It's just done in a different way. And it's almost like you're locking arms with them saying, okay, this is where I think your show is really going to excel in the award space, whether that's writing, that's directing, that's acting. And for us, our team specifically, we have an above the line team and a below the line team. And just to explain what that means, above the line means like your talent, your directors, your writers, anybody who's in front of the camera, who's writing, directing. Below the line means anybody who's like in editing, hair, makeup, costuming, VFX. They don't give enough props, in my opinion, to people below the line just because they're the ones who are really making it happen. The puppeteer, editing, like you name it, are the people who are just making anybody in front of the camera on these shows that you love look fabulous, whether that's hair or saying the lines correctly or editing to make sure that it looks like they're saying the lines correctly.
That's right. I mean, even the idea that they're called below the line, like it's like, wow. How has your role evolved since you first joined the team? How long have you been there?
5 years.
It has not been 5 years.
Yes. I literally had a moment where I was like, can I tell you, which is funny, one of my coworkers actually was like, you've been here for 5 years. And I was like, what? She thought how pride did. And I was like, yes. It definitely feels like it's been 5 years, if not more, in a really good way. As you can imagine, the company's evolved, viewing the way people were watching during the pandemic, the way people have been watching post-pandemic. It's very much evolved. I think when I started, it was like, okay, you're going to work on press. You're going to work on relationships with press. You're going to work on a couple of events. And it's evolved into like, you work with critics groups, you work with press. Our team is even evolved. Like, I think when I first got there, it was like 1, 2, 3, 4 people. I think our team is 9 people now or so. So like, but everything has evolved in a really good way in the fact that like, I'm taking on more responsibility on working on shows from soup to nuts, as far as like talking to showrunners about their preferences and what they want and who they think is going to be their, we call it the horse of who's going to be in the race, who's going to win, whether that's in comedy, drama, limited series, it rolls the gambit. It's been a lot, but it's been fun. And again, it depends on the show, where it could be something as big as like The Crown, which has been out for like 6 seasons, or The Stranger Things, which is about to end very soon, or a newer show we're launching that we've just put out, or a second season or third season of a show returning. So the responsibility changes a little bit and what that looks like, but it's been a really interesting and fun ride.
Never a dull moment. Sounds like, for sure.
Never. Like, I don't think I knew what Emmy campaigning was until I got to this company, because I'd campaigned for Emmys before, which was like, oh, we're going to do a panel here, do that here, do this here. No, it's like panel, roundtable, interview, this, that, like it rolls the gambit. But at the same time, as we mentioned before, like now podcasts are a thing. Now awards podcasts are a thing. Like Vanity Fair has Little Gold Men, Ankler has Prestige Junkie podcast. Like that's even grown from where we started 5 years ago into now.
So there has to be no typical day for you. So what does the day look like? Like, and how do you determine what you're going to get through in a day?
I swear I have the same to-do list that ebbs and flows throughout the week. To your point, no day is as typical as one day. It depends on what show we're launching. Like, great example, we're getting ready to launch Squid Game. So I know, like, I'm an early morning person. So I'm usually up around 5, 6, which is great because it's usually their evening. So I can respond to emails from them in Korea. This is a global company. So a good amount of what we're doing is dealing with different regions and working with different colleagues in different regions. So I might be hopping on a call at 7 o'clock or earlier to talk to my team in Korea or to talk to somebody in the UK. So again, it's never the same. A lot of it in the morning is me trying to read up, whether that's New York Times, Wall Street Journal, LA Times, read up in the trades just to know what's happening. Because a lot of news breaks overnight in the UK because it's their morning. And then it's us. It might be Asia.
Okay.
So it's just kind of like following that ebb of like what's happening in what region, or if there's a festival, especially like the Cannes Festival, or if there is, especially the film festivals, that becomes like a whole, like Venice, and just kind of looking to see what they're doing. I work on the TV side, but I'm still intrigued to see like what's happening just in the industry, period, because it kind of all impacts each other. If you notice, it really, really impacts each other. But yeah, it's reading in the morning, it's going through emails, it's checking with team members. Was this handled? Did somebody handle this? Was this done? Is this submission handled right now? We're in submission. So my life right now is who is submitting what, where for Critics' Choice, which is like a critics group, or Golden Globe, or WGA, which is Writers Guild. So it's just a lot of submissions in my head at the moment. In between us getting prepared and ready to start campaigning for SAG season, which is Screen Actors Guild. If you watch the Screen Actors Guild Awards, I feel like they're usually in February. So we're campaigning for that now in October.
Yeah.
So to your point, I don't think people think how far in advance people campaign for these. But like, this is one example of something you are starting to campaign for daggone near in like September, sometimes August, up until like December when they start voting.
I am a member of the Recording Academy, which is responsible for the Grammys.
And you're about to start voting, aren't you? Or you're voting
I
now?
have seen so many for your consideration notes and messages, and I'm like, oh, it's the season. It's the season. And many you see, and then some you don't see. And I'm like, I wonder always about who's working behind the scenes to help different artists. Because some you see early in advance, and whatever you see is such a full packet of who they are and what they're doing. And others, maybe you don't see as much information. Sometimes maybe they're newer. I don't know, but you can definitely see the difference between some of those things.
Record labels are investing in, or like, this is my horse for this race. This is who I think is going to do really well for like best new artist, best country album, or best R&B. So that's what you're seeing right now.
Okay, so you're in this industry for over 20 years. What sort of challenges did you find yourself navigating?
Biggest challenge I'll say now is journalism dwindling. Just the amount of people who used to be in journalism who are now like, I'm not doing this anymore, or between layoffs, to be 100% honest with you, in the last 2-3 years, it's been very, very brutal to see the amount of people who are journalists, tried and true, who have been in this industry for a long time, just out of work or freelancing. And on the vice versa, or the flip side, it's been really interesting to see how they have evolved and are now doing newer things and trying to figure out whether that's a blog or something on Substack, or doing a podcast, or connecting all three together with a newsletter, podcast. It's just interesting to see where this is now evolving to. It's not what it started. Again, newspapers, magazines, even magazines aren't what they used to be. If you're noticing that, less issues.
And now the magazines are way more expensive because you can review the content online.
The interest in who goes on the covers is very different. Like, you're seeing a lot more YouTube influencers and things like that who are gracing these covers. And so I won't lie, I sometimes feel super out of touch. I'm like, who is this person? Or a new emerging artist that like is in music that I might have heard of, but I don't know super much about. The TV side, where you're like, who is this talent now? What have they done? Sometimes it's great when you hopefully someone lands a cover of a newer talent that you're like, oh, this is going to be good. We're trying to campaign them anyway for later. But yeah, it's the amount of journalism, or the dwindling amount of journalists that I've seen. I think that's been a really challenging and hard thing to deal with. And also making sure you are evolving as a person within publicity, and knowing like, what is going to get the most impact? Where am I hitting, or what outlet am I targeting that is going to reach the most eyes? Is it like a morning show? Is it a late night show? Is it a breakfast show at a radio station? Because now those are also on YouTube. You also have to realize YouTube didn't even exist really that much when I first started. So like, everything has been moved to online, even further, moved to YouTube. Like, it's been the escalation of like everything online, everything on YouTube, everything on social now, TikTok, or Snapchat. It happened so fast. Instagram, like, everything has been, how do we get the most bite-sized information to an audience in the quickest way and form, so that like we're promoting a TV show or series or even a film, I'll say, and doing it in such a succinct way that it's going to like get the numbers or get the clicks or get the comments.
And I imagine it's tough to even budget for different outlets when they change so often. Like, there's some, I guess, the standards that you go to. And then with
the standard trade that we always deal with.
Okay.
But yes, yeah.
What advice do you have for someone who wants to do public relations or talent relations at a high level?
Read.
Say more.
I feel like I hate this. I don't want to say the old adage, knowledge is power, but knowledge in this, especially in PR, has so much power to know like, who's moved, who's where, what they like, what they don't like. A lot of journalists are on social. A lot of journalists will tell you what they like, what they don't like. It's always great to, know what's been covered, what hasn't been covered. I don't feel like enough people are reading the New York Times still. And I know that's such the basic like newspaper to read, but there's so much knowledge to gain from reading the New York Times, whether that is entertainment, politics, whatever. It's just like there's basic outlets that people are just not reading. And yes, it's great to pick up your phone and read whatever the latest, whatever is, but it's just like New York Times. There's still some standard Wall Street Journal, the Hollywood Reporter, Variety. There's just standard trades and outlets to read to know what's going on, especially if you want to do entertainment, public relations. I'll just put that out there, whether that's music, Billboard, whether that is TV, again, Hollywood Reporter, Variety, Deadline, online. Like there's just areas where there's not enough people knowing what's happening in the industry to break into public relations. Everything is online now. Everything's an email.
So different.
I'm still old school in the fact that I will be like, let's just meet for coffee or let's just talk. I want to see what you look like. I want to see your face. I want to see you react to something I'm talking about. I want to see what your interests are. I feel like people's genuine need to connect is gone. That's something I think is really, really important in public relations, period, is knowing who your contacts are and ebbing and flowing with whoever's new coming up as a potential contact.
Do you think those differences are related to generational ways of being?
I feel like everybody in this new generation is like this. They're just on their phone all the time. And everything is like, oh, I could just email it. It's done. And I feel like they lack the idea of relationships. Relationships at the end of the day are still very important. It's still important to pick up the phone and call somebody. It's still important to be like, let me meet you and see your face and actually connect and bond with you. It's still important to be like, how's your cat doing? How's your dog? How, like, even small things that you'll find out on Instagram. Like, I just saw that, your aunt passed. How are you doing? Just,
yeah. So genuine
interest in people. I feel like that's missing. And I don't know where we lost just being human beyond like, happy holidays and whatever. I just feel like there's areas where we're just missing connecting with people. Reading, connecting with people, I think are going to be my main two ones to focus on as to if this is the job that you really want to get into and succeed. I think that is it, because once you make those connections, it will open up doors for other connections to be made. And people are more interested in opening those doors for you if you've made a connection with them versus you just having a very work relationship, which is fine, or an emailed relationship. Just kind of more interest in who you are as a person, I think. Definitely, at least it helped me. I'll say that. And it continues to help me just actually having conversations with people that don't necessarily reside only in work.
Right. Because we are more than our work. While it can't be a balance every single day, we do have to give honor for that. So would you say they need to major in mass media, or that's not necessarily important?
Oh, I majored in English. And again, I fell into this.
That's what.
And I know public relations is a major, I want to say, at some college. I was an English major in college, and then I did broadcasting for grad school, but I don't think you really need to be public relations major. Again, that's my 2 cents. If somebody's a public relations major and they want to rock with it, I'm like, go ahead and rock with it. I enjoyed being an English major. I enjoyed reading all my Toni Morrison. I did not love doing a thesis. It is about relationships. It's about reading. I feel like you could be a marketing major and do that. You could be a business major. You could be a psychology major and do public relations. I don't necessarily think there's one straightforward path to public relations. It's just, can you write really well? Can you read? Are you good at building relationships and maintaining relationships? And you don't necessarily have to always be a people person. I think that's a misconception. I know some really phenomenal people who are in public relations that get the job done really, really well and effectively because they are able to sell their client in an email really well, or get on the phone and sell a client or product really well. So I hope that's helpful in some way.
No, that's helpful. There are no paths that are the same. Everyone has their own way of navigating into this work. And I'd almost say, like, if you're open to the ideas and being involved in spaces that you may not have been involved in the past, like when you mentioned your internship and choosing between one or the other, just pure curiosity and a desire to explore.
100%. It was literally like, just figure out what this is. And to be honest with you, now that I think back, I did take a PR class at Hampton. I think they offered a PR class, and the whole PR class was case studies. It was like, and here's an example. They have found a hair in the food at Taco Bell. what does corporate do? Or if someone like has found a roach. It was more on the
Sure.
communication side, on the entertainment, TV, or music side of this, and trying to figure out what that looks like. So again, for me, it was kind of like, I don't know exactly what this is, but I will figure
Right.
it out. Like I figured it out in music. I figured it out doing documentaries. I figured it out for reality. I'm going to figure it out for the awards.
I love that. What else would you want people to know about your work?
It means watching a lot of TV or watching a lot of what your
Mm.
competition is, which could be fun sometimes. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's like, ugh. It's consuming a lot of media at all times, whether that's podcast, TV, radio. It's just always trying to find what's the next step, what's the next level, what's the next outlet, what's the next thing that's coming, what's after podcast. That next outlet where you reach your audiences in a really effective, smart way, and it's targeted. Oh, I know to go here because I want to reach moms, or I know to go here because I want to reach sports fans, or I know I want to go here because I want to reach teens. I think it's just constantly trying to evolve and figure out what's next in the media landscape beyond podcasts, beyond online. You're still going to do your interview with your people in person. You still got to give them press points and make sure they give you, they deliver the press points specifically how you wanted them to be delivered.
Right.
There's basic elements of public relations that'll always be there. Like the press release has evolved. Like people used to fax press releases. Heaven forbid, fax machines like that have definitely moved and shake. Now it's way more about like influencers and what influencers are going to be doing at your premiere and like how much content they're capturing and what that content looks like and how that helps you with, getting more eyes for your product or your show or whatever. So yeah, it's a constant evolution, and I think you just have to be open to what that evolution is and not be very stuck in the ways of like, I only deal with newspapers or I only work with this outlet or I only work with that person. So yeah, it's constant evolution. I'll say that.
Mhm. Sounds like flexibility too.
Lots of flexibility.
And being able to work with people. Sounds like you're working with so many different types of people.
It is. Can I tell you one of the best campaigns I feel like I've ever been able to work on is the season 1 for Squid Game. And I'll say that because not only was it eye-opening for me because I watch K-dramas. So I was like, I like this content. But it was eye-opening for me because it was such a great moment to learn about cultural nuances. And what we do here in the States, what's acceptable in Korea, what's not acceptable, understanding what you can say, what you can't say. Like, great example, in Korea, you don't talk about illegal drugs at all. So like learning about like, let us know what we don't know. Teach us what we don't know about the awards landscape. We know it's going to be hard. And I feel bad because we set them up the best way possible. But it was like 5 trips between Seoul and LA to campaign. It's a lot. It's a lot on anybody. It's a lot of work. But it was just one of those moments where it was lightning in a bottle. And we weren't to know that Squid Game was going to take off the way it did. And when it did, it was like, what is it about this series that has captured the hearts and minds of so many people internationally? And it was really about like, if you had the opportunity to compete for X amount of money and to save like a family member, to help someone get a kidney transplant. I'm making this up. You get my point. Like, how much sacrifice would you give to put your life on the line to make this happen? And yeah, some of it was about selfishness and debt and how do I better myself? And other parts were really about how do I do this and learn more about myself, learn more about being selfless. It was all about human nature. Anybody could watch in any country and understand it is about that human element of human nature that got so many people to watch that series. And when you take that and you're like, okay, now I got to do an awards campaign. How do I build on this? How do I get people to understand this series is about the basic elements of human nature? And that pretty much is almost a lot of shows we work on. It's like, what can we do to tap into something that you're feeling or experiencing or you could relate to, even if it's a show that's not in your language, to help you, check this box on a ballot and vote for this show because it means so much or because it deeply touched you in some way. So yeah, that's just an example of like, I didn't see that coming. It wasn't something we forecasted that we were like, oh, Squid Game is going to be. It just happened. It was lightning in a bottle. And it was such an interesting ride to meet all the cast and the director and it was just an interesting campaign period. And I learned so much from the campaign. And it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever experience a show or anything like it. And then I was able to go on to set for season 2 in Korea. And I was like, In what world would you ever be able to work on a show where you go on set in Seoul, Korea and are able to like immerse yourself in their culture?
What an honor. What a gift to be able to have that as a part of your work.
So amazing.
Wow. What a journey. What do you want to do in the future? Have you been thinking about?
Alison, I wish I knew. Every other day or so, I'm like, maybe I should open up a bookstore. I love to read. So I'm always like, but at the same time, I'm like, that's a dying breed. Everybody goes to Amazon, so that's not it.
Audible.
I'm like, oh, maybe I should open up a spa. Women and men, who doesn't like to be luxuriated, like around, like who doesn't want to be like pampered? I'm like, maybe I'll open up a spa in the future. I don't know. I have no idea. I need something that maybe I'll put it out in the universe where I will open something that joins together a bookstore, a spa, and a vineyard.
Ooh, I'm definitely supporting that.
Thank you. Wow. Not in entertainment, but like we'll get the people coming still.
Yeah, but I still see that thread of making connections and creating spaces for people to enjoy an experience. So thank you so much for being with me. It's been an honor to hear about your work and about how you'd go about doing your work. I think that's the nuggets that always are interesting to me. How does one stay informed with you about your efforts?
That is a great question because I'm on social, but I'm not posting my efforts. That's for sure. If one sees a good amount of shows nominated, that's right. It's like, not just me, it's me and a team, me and the award series team at Netflix. It is us out there campaigning, burning the midnight oil, getting the press out. You'll see for consideration billboards around LA, maybe a couple bus shelters in New York, some cover stories that you might see. I'll say that is the efforts that you will see or the fruit of the labor that you will see.
It's so funny that you said that because oftentimes when you ask people, how do they stay in contact with you? How do they follow your work? For certain roles, you know the work by what is done, right? Exactly. And so like on my social media, I very rarely post anything about work, but I almost say if you see a change happening, funding going a specific way or just things like that, that's how you know things were happening. So I am so grateful that you do the work that you do, hearing it with us, and I cannot wait for the audience to hear this episode. It's so awesome. Until next time, and thanks again, Nyle.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to Cultural Catalyst. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe to the podcast and follow us for more inspiring stories from the world of arts and entertainment. You can find me on social media at MCE Arts and Alison T. McNeil on LinkedIn. Please leave a review and tune in to our next episode for more creatives behind the curtain. See you next time.